We're going to look at the histology of the different vessels in the cardiovascular system. So the first one we're going to look at is an artery, and the arteries go towards or away from the heart. Good, away from the heart. So they're going, here's the heart, going away from the heart. The most important thing to note about the arteries is they have a much thicker layer of the muscle and elastic fibers. This allows for resistance in the arteries because if you remember from the video yesterday, blood gets pumped from the left ventricle to the body, and the blood is pumped much more powerfully through an artery than it is through a vein, because the vein is coming back to the heart. So it's essentially the furthest vessel away from the heart. So the difference, now we're going to look at a vein, and you'll see the difference. This is a cross-section of a vein, so it's got a much smaller layer of that muscle and elastic fiber. And I'll show you a histology slide of the two compared next to each other. Veins are almost kind of floppy. They lack the shape that arteries do. Arteries are much stronger, and they have this not perfectly round shape, but it's got a lot more structure than does a vein. So if we look at the next thing we're going to look at is the capillary. A capillary is where the tissue is, the oxygen is exchanged at the tissues. So we've got blood coming from the heart through an artery to the capillary. Right here in that purplish kind of area is where the O2 is going to be exchanged for CO2 in the tissues. Then the blood is then going to leave the vein, go back to the heart, where it's going to do its oxygenating thing. When the blood comes into the artery, it's high, or into the capillary, it's high in O2. When it leaves the vein, it's low in O2. So it's switching out that oxygen. And then, as I promised, this is a histology slide of an artery and a vein. This right here is the artery, and this is the vein. It doesn't really look like a vein, right? It looks kind of like a bat, the bat signal, or like a flying pig or an elephant. I don't know. I have a vivid imagination. But as you can see right here, this right here, and then so in between the two black circles is that thick layer of muscle, and it's almost a perfect circle. You can see that this artery has this distinct shape, this distinct circular shape, and then over here there's this vein which has this really thin layer of muscle, which is why it kind of looks floppy and like a flying pig or the bat symbol. So you can definitely see the difference between these two. The artery has to withstand high resistance from the blood, and the vein just kind of is this floppy little thing sending blood back to the heart. Veins also have something called valves in them. So this is a vein, and veins kind of bulge a little bit like this, and they have these valves like this. The blood will push. Let's use red. The blood will push open these valves. As soon as the blood is through the valves, they will shut. So they'll end up like this. So if we have another drawing, let's go. Oh, I know. So this is kind of. So we'll do the progression of it. Blood comes through here, and these open up, and then the blood. So they're open. The blood can come through. Once the blood is through, they're closed again. So that keeps the blood from falling back into this area. So you don't want that. We don't want the blood to flow back into that area. When it does, the vessel is diseased, and that is not good, which we'll talk about at a later date. If you have any questions, go back through the video or write them down, and we will discuss them tomorrow.